groovy.
Hey everybody, Jim here. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be giving some more import game recommendations, and I'm going to be focusing on the Famicom today. I have 5 Famicom games here that I think are worth importing and playing, and we're going to get started with this one by Tecmo. It's called Kyatto, Ninden, Teyandee, but you'll probably know it better as Samurai Pizza Cats. And this, for those who are not aware, used to be a Saturday morning cartoon in North America for a brief period. The game plays like a very easy Ninja Gaiden being made by Tecmo and all. You have 3 different characters to choose from, and it's a very straightforward action platformer. You just run through each stage, you kill enemies, and you do a bit of platforming, and you use your ninja magic. The controls are the exact same as Ninja Gaiden. You also get a handful of support characters that you can call on for help, and they can do things like break large blocks, and they can fly or swim or do other things that your 3 main characters can't. It is a very fun game despite being very easy. It's also really good looking, colorful game, really big character sprites, really big bosses when you have boss battles, really large sprites that look really good. They're fairly detailed as well, and the soundtrack is also really good. Tecmo usually was good about putting really, excellent music in their games as well, so really fun but easy gameplay, and then some really decent graphics and sound design make this one, I think, a desirable import to pick up if you're a fan of the 8-bit action platformers. Samurai Pizza Cats, very cool game indeed, one I'd recommend picking up, especially if you remember and enjoyed the cartoon when you were a kid, as I do. Next up, really great game by Konami. This is Getsu Fuuma Den. And this is a game that I think it's really a shame that Konami decided not to release it internationally. It's probably because there's a very heavy emphasis on Japanese mythology and horror and other things like that. Maybe they thought an international audience at the time just wouldn't be into those kinds of things. And again, it's too bad because this really is a very good game. You have an overworld map that you navigate through, and when you get to action stages, it switches to a side-scrolling action title. It's kind of like a hack and slash version of Castlevania. You get from point A to point B, and you chop up all of the monsters and ghosts and things like that in between. You collect lots of items and power-ups to increase your health or your weapon strength, for example. You collect keys to open up gates to go into dungeons, and the dungeons are more of like a dungeon crawling section, and you do that so you can move on to the next area and collect more weapons and more power-ups and fight more monsters and demons and bosses. And the whole thing is really awesome. It plays really well, the graphics are good, the soundtrack is outstanding, as is pretty typical of 8-bit Konami. Again, real shame this one didn't get released in the States or in Europe. Getsu Fuuma Den is, I think, a really kind of hidden gem, quote-unquote. I hate to use that term, in Konami's library. It is a really excellent game. I like it a lot. Getsu Fuuma Den, another very cool game. Kind of a shame that we didn't get this in Western territories. Konami was really kind of at the top of their game back in their 8-bit days. Up next, another Konami game, really great. This is Wai Wai World 2. And once again, I have to say, it's a real shame Konami did not release this game outside of Japan. Both games, actually, because this is obviously the sequel. The first game is really good, too. It's, I feel, a little bit trickier. It's a little harder to just pick up and play and start having fun with. This one is a very straightforward action platformer. You start out using Konami Man, but you can also choose to have several other characters on your team that you can swap back and forth between, and you can play as characters like Bill from Contra, Simon Belmont, Getsu Fuma, or the little baby from the Bio Miracle game on the Famicom disc, which is really cool. Each character has different powers and advantages, and there are other stages you can play as well. There's like a Twin Bee stage and a cool racing stage and shooting stages.
Lots of variety. I compare this game a lot to Kid Dracula, actually, especially in the graphics and sound, because it's very similar, very large character sprites, it's very colorful and detailed, and the music is really upbeat, very good. Again, another really great 8-bit Konami soundtrack, and again, I guess a quote-unquote hidden gem in the Konami 8-bit library. This and the first game, they're both awesome. Again, really a shame they did not get international releases, but you can pick them up and play them now if you feel so inclined, which I would recommend you do. Both games are really good.
Wai Wai World 2, a lot of fun. I would recommend picking it up and playing it, and the first one as well. I don't think it's as good as this one, but, still worth a play. Wai Wai World 2 and Wai Wai World. Next up, this one was an easy pick. It is Sweet Home.
Now, this is a game that I like a lot because a little later in life I became a bigger fan of the JRPG genre, and I've always been a fan of survival horror, and this game is basically the precursor to what would become survival horror, and it plays more or less in the style of a JRPG. It kind of mixes the two genres, really. You have 5 characters to choose from. Each character can carry a limited supply of items, and they each have abilities unique to them, and the entire purpose of the game is to get through this mansion and find items and solve puzzles and do whatever you can to get out of the mansion with as many characters intact as possible, because when one dies, that's it, they're gone for good, and however many characters survive changes the ending of the game, which is pretty cool too. So Sweet Home, really excellent game. The problem is, like I said, it is more or less a JRPG. It is kind of text heavy, so if you can't read Japanese, that's a problem. However, there are English patches available for this game, and there are reproduction NES carts, which actually look really cool. I think they're like blood red or something like that. So you can play this game if you're an English speaker. You just have to, I guess, go the extra mile, and I would recommend that you do. Sweet Home is absolutely awesome. In my opinion, kind of a classic in Capcom's 8-bit library.
Sweet Home, really good, classic Capcom stuff. Yes, again, pick it up and get the English patch if you can't read Japanese, or get one of the repro carts. Well worth it, believe me. And this next game, really awesome game in the Kunio-kun series by Technos Japan. This is Ike Ike Nekketsu Hockey Boo.
This is my favorite 8-bit hockey game, which is actually saying a lot, because I do really like Ice Hockey by Nintendo and Blades of Steel by Konami, but I think this one just beats out those other two. First of all, it's a Kunio-kun game, as if you couldn't tell, so all of the characters and the graphics in general look like they've been ripped straight from a River City Ransom or Super Dodgeball. So I immediately just love the look and design of the entire game, because I'm a big fan of that series, and I've just always really enjoyed their character designs and the look of the environments that they create. And also the music is outstanding, but the gameplay is just it's like perfect for a hockey game. At least it controls very smoothly. The controls are very simple. You skate around and you knock people out with your hockey stick. You play against all kinds of crazy teams. So you play against the Kendo Club and the baseball team, and they play hockey with kendo sticks and baseball bats. And after you defeat them, you can start wearing their uniforms, which gives you all kinds of new attributes for you and your players on your team. So you can skate around the ice, bashing people's brains in with a baseball bat, which is super fun. So all around, just an awesome game. Technos Japan always made quality stuff. This one was gonna get a US release apparently, and they canceled it because it was a late release, and they just, I guess, didn't think they were gonna make any money because the Super Nintendo was already out and selling like hotcakes. But this game is awesome. It's one I would highly recommend importing and playing if you're a fan of arcadey 8-bit sports titles, especially the hockey games. This one's awesome, and I don't know what else to say. I cannot recommend this game highly enough.
Ike Ike Nekketsu Hockey Boo, really terrific game, and just won a whole bunch of Japan exclusive Kunio-kun games, and in particular a lot of sports games in this series that are a lot of fun. Really a shame we didn't get those in the West. And there you go, that's it. 5 import Famicom games that I think are worth picking up and playing. Hey there in the audience, do you have any favorite import Famicom games or any that you would like to get your hands on, I'd like to know. And until next time, thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye.